Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here together today with my energy healing teacher, Alain Herriott. Alain, welcome.
Well, thank you. Nice
Thank
to
you.
see you.
Likewise, so nice to see you, and thank you so much for your time today.
My
Um,
pleasure.
I'm super excited to have you in this interview because as I am a holistic health coach and I've taken Ellen's classes, the Wonder Method classes, I have started to integrate more and more of the energy healing modalities in my work. And every time I apply this energy healing, people are super, super curious and they want to know everything about it. I would just briefly like to share with you how I actually found Ellen, because I was watching a documentary, E-Motion, and all of a sudden on the screen, there appeared Ellen. And the moment I saw Ellen, I was like, wow, I don't know what this man is teaching, but I was so inspired and so curious to learn from his energy and what he was sharing about energy healing that I signed up for his course. And literally, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But you will learn more about this. Can you share more about what is energy healing actually, Ellen?
Okay. So there's several schools of energy healing. Some are more yang, some are more yin. The Wonder Method is a very yin approach, probably the most yin approach that I've ever experienced. The yang model is where you put out energy, if you will, and attempt to change what's going on inside a person by increasing the amount of energy you put in. Eventually, whatever's going on in another person succumbs to that pressure, in a sense, or desire for change, and the person changes. And the point is to up the energy and up the energy and up the energy until the entrainment happens and the person cascades into change by pushing through, they would call it, through the channels or the energy pathways, and clearing out the blockage. Mm-hmm. That's one way to look at it, at least. And with the yin approach, what occurs is we open, okay, versus attempt to push. And it's not about changing the other person. The more we open and the quieter we get through, we use the concept of breathing with wonder to create that openness. Through a combination of processing or unwinding locked emotions within ourselves and practice doing the breath with wonder and learning to ride those flows, greater and greater quiet is produced. So the more you practice, the faster the effect you'll have for someone else. Not necessarily better, but faster as you, as a practitioner, learn to quiet your system.
That's beautiful. And especially I like how you explain the difference between the yang and the yin. Personally, I wasn't familiar with that before I started your courses. And how I see it is that the yang approach, it's also limiting because our mind has only a limited view of how things can change. Whereas if we open, there are other alternatives that our mind has not even considered.
It's an ongoing space. If you think you've arrived at an end, well, then you've already limited the outcome because the mind is saying this is as far as you can go. Mm-hmm. But if you start letting yourself feel, you realize that the boundaries drop away as you allow yourself to feel, and you find yourself in this sense of openness to be versus do. And this is getting very Zen-like in explanation, but basically you're more in comfort and comfortable with yourself and what you interact with in the world. So the healing modality itself, we have, you could say, two parts. There's the energy healing aspect that most people are aware of, like they go to an energy healer and they do X. Well, in this model, there's the straight energy healing, and then there's the processing arm, which is unwinding locked emotions within yourself. Here you are, you're walking around every day, and you're finding out that you're limiting yourself because when somebody says certain words, you get triggered and you get internal and you get concerned or afraid, but because we're taught to use the intellect a lot, we don't realize that the feeling side of us is being more and more reduced. Mm. And what we want to do within this model is start letting the feeling side have equal say in our lives. Not in the sense of drama, with all this busy mind stuff kind of feeling, but more peace, balance, and harmony. And interestingly, as you unwind the locked emotions, a greater and greater quiet mind, until eventually, you hear in these meditation states or in the Tao, no mind and all that. The mind just gets quiet. Mm-hmm. You cruise. Does this take practice? Yes.
Yes, a lot of practice, because when I got started, I was just out of my corporate career, completely in my monkey mind. And I had no idea of this concept that you just explained of just being, and also allowing our mind to do its job and to do our body and emotions its job. And they're two different jobs. And I also really liked it also during the classes that you really explained your mind can never feel like your body can never think. And that already helps a lot in this very kind of, okay, if you want to really black and white, to explain the difference, and also to explain the difference, why it is so important to actually feel your emotions and let them in by not having your mind block them with all the limiting beliefs. Because actually, even before I started taking your courses, what I would always say at university in my job is like, guys, let's do this. The sky is the limit. And now after your courses, I'm like, the sky's the limit. Oh, no, hang on. Ellen says, no, there is no limit. So right. the sky is not the limit.
And that's we get into these common terms that define our world. Everybody says every cloud has a silver lining, okay, as a positive outcome. But most people aren't actually living their life from that perspective. They're thinking that every silver cloud has a dark lining. In other words, they're waiting for the other shoe to drop all the time. That's true. And those kinds of attitudes are the things we want to unwind, because they're sort of programmed attitudes. That's how we were brought up. That's how our parents were brought up. That's how our teachers were brought up. And it's sort of a self-perpetuating whole, because you can never really get free. All you can do is be caught in these dramas. But the really exciting thing to me is the limitations start to be opportunities for change. Because you're brought up like, this is the way life is, and it's linear. And it's not linear. Those are just belief systems. Mm. So you have an opportunity to step into a whole new reality. From my perspective, you will get to experience enlightenment in the classic term, but it's so much bigger than the term implies. Mm. And it continues to evolve. Because as you allow yourself to expand and experiment with life more like you were when you were a child, mm-hmm. the parameters expand again. So you continuously evolve, not stay in this narrow pathway.
Mm-hmm. I loved it, especially because the moment we started taking the classes, or I started taking your classes, is that I also noticed how draining sometimes resisting emotions can be. Like especially emotions like fear or anger or frustration. And it's really, really tiring if you try to resist those and try to fight them. And what I really learned also in your classes is to, what you mentioned, to open up and just be, and let all the emotions be just as they are, without any judgment, without trying to find them. You actually feel so much better and so much more energized.
Yeah, because you're basically reincorporating parts of yourself that you hid behind walls of fear. Let yourself unfold, let yourself grow and be. In a way, it's kind of frightening, but what's so surprising is it's so simple too, but it's just very counterintuitive.
Yes, exactly. When you say simple, it's like, oh, for me, I really had this monkey mind. So the first lesson when you said just be and open up and feel, that was the most challenging thing out of every single thing in my life. No matter what studies I've done, whatever job I was in, to just be was the biggest challenge, because the moment you say go into the openness and just be quiet, my mind already started saying, Sabine, what the hell are you doing? What is quiet? What does that mean? And where are we going now? I don't get this. Are you, what are you doing? So, and this is actually also when I work with people, and the more people I meet and talk about your work, they also share with me, yes, I try to meditate, but it doesn't work. And I tell them, yes, I tried it for so many years, and all I got to was basically my grocery shopping list for the next day. And until I took your course, and then I would love to also ask you the difference between meditation and Wonder Method, because when I started taking your classes, you told me, well, the meditative state is your entry point. And my mind was the first thing it thought. I was like, oh, holy crap, I can't do that because I tried it for years and I could never arrive there. But as you just explained, sometimes it's so beautiful now. You're looking. It's like you're going into the woods looking for the trees, and you're in between like the soil and the leaves, and you don't see the tree, and it's right there. But you're so focused on everything else that you don't see that it's already there.
Well, meditation in general, in my experience, and I worked at meditation for hours a day for, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 years. Quiet the mind. Repeat this phrase over and over. Negate the body. Leave all that behind. And it's hard.
I'm happy to hear that from you.
Discipline. And it negates the mind. And the trouble is, you go outside and you've got a mind and you've got a body. It negates the body. And if you've got a body, as soon as you begin to move and you go, oh, this body stuff. Yeah. And the drama outside, and you get caught right away again. As you let yourself feel, as the sensations rise, the mind and body integrate. When that occurs, the meditative state, or at least the meditative-like state that you thought you wanted, begins to happen. Mm-hmm. The thing is, meditation is, in my experience at least, and those I've interacted with, is a static state. You're holding this space. Mm. That's not what the Wonder Method does, because the holding is a resistance. You're saying no to that out there, and yes to the space inside, but the two are at odds with each other. As the feelings are integrated, then what happens is the mind naturally quiets. The sense of void, if you will, occurs, but not in the sense of emptiness, but in the sense of everythingness. And that's a large difference. It's you're part of it rather than nothingness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very beautiful.
The Tao Te Ching says you can't know it, but you can be it at ease in your own life. Just realize where you come from. This is the essence of wisdom. So what does that mean? As you integrate, you realize this space is yours. It's always been yours. It is always yours. And it's always been there, and it will always be there. But the mind, with its intensity and pressure,
focus,
hides this space. And as the feelings are allowed to be experienced, you integrate and you start to live from this space. And so you're just cruising more and more.
Yes, that's really what I always would say I got addicted to when I started taking your courses. And by the time I the monkey mind was just completely quiet. It was like as if it had gone in a hammock and was just on the beach, like chilling out.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, oh, let me just drift on like this forever and ever and ever.
yeah. And you can. The question is, are you willing to feel? And not feel, but lightly feel. And if you are, you're there more and more. It's just the quiet is indescribable because so few people experience quiet. But like, sure, I'm talking and I'm interacting, but my mind is, here I am. What are you doing? Nothing and everything. When are you going to do it? Now and never. It doesn't matter. If it brings you joy, go for it. If it doesn't bring you joy, process it. That's sort of the attitude.
I love
And,
that.
in the beginning, it seems like there's a lot to do, but in very short order, a matter of weeks usually, the mind starts to quiet down more and more, and you just are.
Mm. Yeah, that's really great. I mean, even when you're talking like this right now, it's like, oh, yes, calming down. Because we always, like every single one of us, we get so caught up as what you call the drama in our life, the stress at work, in the traffic, when we're in the traffic jam, whatever. And then I found it really, really incredible to have this wonder method as a tool I can use in all of the situations. And actually, I would love you to share the story how you got to the wonder method when you went shopping with your wife and
Oh,
how all of a sudden.
the awakening moment.
Yes, because
Yeah,
I love that story.
that was the mundane thing. Okay, well, you go shopping with your wife or your husband, I'm sure, but I was shopping with my wife, and she's very interested in colors and matching. It's a very artistic approach to dressing oneself. Do the colors match? Does this fit like this? Does it lay like that? And I go for a walk when that part thing happens. And so I'm walking around the parking lot, wondering yet again when my wife will come out from shopping. And so I'm processing that because, I'm walking around a parking lot. Why not? And I'm processing how I feel that she's doing it yet again. And all of a sudden, that's when my mind went quiet. And you would think it needs something to be, something intense. But no. It's like you reach a tipping point and you just arrive.
Yes, beautiful.
So yeah, and then it was cool for my wife to shop. And I just went to a different store and figured, text me when you're done.
Yes, I love that story so much because I think this is also one of the real life examples that people can really identify themselves with. That whenever you're in one of those situations, you start to feel emotions and you're trying to suppress them or fight them, and at that moment, that's actually when you can start applying the wonder method to feel at ease and feel at peace. And this is also why I always recommend your courses, the Wonder Method courses, to everyone, because I feel you can use it in your office, when you start to have a fight with your manager, at home when you feel, I don't know, it's a tense situation. Really anywhere. And I want to say again, the sky's the limit, but no, it's not. So yeah, it's really, really great.
It goes in the meditating vernacular would go gone, gone, gone beyond, beyond, hail the goer. So that's the Heart Sutra. And basically what it means, go beyond what you consider your boundaries. In our model, you feel those boundaries and you unwind and you realize there's a further. And you go beyond that. And then there's a further. And in the classic East Indian viewpoint, that would be called going on the path. And we honor the person that's willing to go there, because most people aren't.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll find that it gets less cryptic and it gets more experiential.
Mm-hmm.
And you just arrive. And you've realized you've gone beyond where most people are willing to go, and you are peaceful.
Well, Ellen, I think you've shared already so much great information with our audience, and I'm so grateful for your time and for all of your wisdom, your lessons, everything I've learned from you. And I'm super, super excited that we had this opportunity to do this interview together.
Yes, thank you so much for doing it. It's very kind of you.
And really, yes, so to everyone out there, to find more information about Ellen, you can go to www.thewondermethod.com, and I'll also put the link below so they know where to find you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ellen, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Lovely.